how to not do anything to manifest what you desire. Or we could say it another way, how to do nothing and manifest what you desire. This nuanced point is what I would like to explore with you today with respect to my personal experiences and a conversation that I had with a member of Flow-Based Prosperity, my group coaching and mastermind service, Cynthia. If you're interested in the service, I'll link in the description to the service. And also, if you're interested in the conversation that Cynthia and I had, I'll link in the description to the conversation where she invited me over to her Instagram. And for the first time ever, I've never done it before, I went live on Instagram with her. So we have the conversation recorded, and the link to that is available in the description. So what we talked about over there in a particular part is something that I refer to as techniquelessness. Techniquelessness. This was a realization that unfolded on my journey of applying this information that we discuss here since 2004, when I first came across this information through a wonderful book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. In there, he mentioned that, and I'm paraphrasing, if you believe or if you think that money is a result of hard work alone, perish the thought. Now, when I first read the book, I thought he was kidding, or I thought it was a scam, because I grew up working very hard for money. And although that made me money, there was a lot of stress, there was a lot of frustration, and there was me doing a lot of things unnecessarily, thinking that it was producing money, but it was just generating suffering. So I gave it a try. I applied the principles in the book, and then my first definite chief aim, my first vision was to get out of $50,000 debt, and it happened. And it happened in an interesting way. The things that I did were fun, joyous, or we could say the things that I appeared to do were fun and joyous. And also, money would show up in unexpected ways without me seeming to do nothing. Very interesting. As in, I would get raises or unexpected bonuses or additional revenue from particular business deals that I was trying out at the time that were bonuses from clients. Very interesting. So I cleared out of $50,000 worth of debt, and then what happened was I built 3 successful businesses, one in IT, one in consulting, and one with this YouTube channel. And all of it happened in a fun, joyous, flow-based way rather than a stressful way. And during the journey, what I noticed was 2 things. I got to do what I genuinely loved to do, and that resulted in money. And also, money started to show up in unexpected ways by doing nothing. Unexpected bonuses from clients, unexpected revenue sources that showed up as a result of doing one business deal. I can get into the specifics. I did a business deal with one client one time, which generated some income. We partnered on a deal. And then he said, well, it also added additional revenue to his business, so I'm going to cut you a check as a side benefit of doing that business deal. So what I noticed is that there were times where I wasn't doing anything, or we could say I was doing nothing, yet money was showing up in unexpected ways. Now, how this relates to techniquelessness is in Think and Grow Rich, he talked about auto-suggestion. So auto-suggestions can be applied for a number of reasons, some of which include, number one, auto-suggestions are acknowledgments of what you already have. What I mean by this is you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. What I mean by that is the fact that you exist is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. In other words, you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment for no reason at all. Now, in the earlier stages, this wouldn't make logical sense to me. But this started to be experienced more so. And then I put two and two together. Getting out of $50,000 debt, building the three businesses to success, whatever kinds of things that I desired were symbols of love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. For example, having a particular amount of money in the bank account was a symbol of fulfillment. So in other words, I was appearing to seek for external fulfillment. I was appearing to seek for love, seek externally for happiness, seek externally for bliss, seek externally for fulfillment, seek externally for peace. And there was nothing wrong with me. Seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things shall be added unto you. So the auto-suggestions were statements of acknowledgement of already having. As I applied auto-suggestions, mind became purified more so from the beliefs that were suggesting that I need to forcefully do things to acquire love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. As those beliefs were released, what I did, what I did not do, what I would say, what I would not say would flow naturally. So it didn't matter then if I was doing something apparently or not doing something apparently. Things would happen to be in my favor, which again, seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things shall be added unto you. So the autosuggestions purified the subconscious mind from limiting beliefs that suggested that I needed to do unnecessary things to get love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Or I can only experience love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment through external conditions. As in, if I have the money in the bank account, then happiness. And nothing wrong with that. It is totally normal to feel happiness when you have money in the bank account. Nothing wrong with that. Yet autosuggestions release the illusion of separation from being happiness, and then money flowed naturally to me with increasing frequency on a continuous basis in known ways and unknown ways. Known ways as in I did a particular business deal and money happened. I didn't do anything and then all of a sudden money showed up. I don't personally consider one way better than another. I remove that bias. I simply remain as I am, which is what I call techniquelessness, being as I am. By being as you are, as unconditional love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, all those things are naturally added onto you. I trust you've noticed this. We can call this charisma or personal magnetism or attractiveness. Everything seems to flow. Your body seems to flow. Resources, relationships flow to be in harmony with you. Now, another way of applying autosuggestions is to purify the subconscious mind from limiting beliefs. Now, as mentioned, autosuggestions are acknowledgments of the being you are, whatever it may be. If you say something like, I have a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit, that to me is a symbol of love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Through that acknowledgement, sure enough, it appears that I have physically materialized a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit. Through that autosuggestion, mind is also purified from beliefs that suggest otherwise. Any kind of beliefs that suggest not love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, as in I don't have a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit, which is an illusion. Those are illusory beliefs that are generating illusions of separation. So autosuggestions can be used to acknowledge that which you already are, and can also be used to purify the subconscious mind from limiting beliefs. If you would like to know more about this, I recommend my Subconscious Mind program, that I created as a result of working with thousands of people in areas of entrepreneurship, relationships. A lot of people ask me, is the program, even though it's hosted on onlinetrainingforentrepreneurs.com, only for entrepreneurs? I actually made it general so that it could be applied for relationships, for health, for well-being, different areas of life. If you're interested in that, I'll link in the description to it. And it goes beyond autosuggestions, although I talk about how I applied autosuggestions from personal experience over the years in a way that's distinct, and that is discussed in the program. I'll link in the description to it. So what happened with me is, over the years, through applying autosuggestion, I put off the former conversation in mind of lacking love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And I put on what the Bible refers to as the new man through autosuggestion. Now, what happened on the journey over the years, and I've been doing this since 2004, is mind became purified to such a degree where things just happen to be in my favor. And so it feels like I'm not doing anything. Body seems to flow naturally, ideally, automatically, flow-based. That's what I created the service, Flow-Based Prosperity, the group coaching and mastermind service, so that people can experience that more so through what I had learned. And that is what everyone is reporting. Flow-based materializations of prosperity rather than a stress force-based way, which is a result of mind purification. So, when the mind became purified to a particular degree, I found it easier to each moment where if there was an appearance that suggested otherwise, suggested not love, not happiness, not peace, not bliss, not fulfillment. Let's say if someone appeared to say something to me that would suggest that I am not love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, I realized that in the moment that it is an illusion. What I mean by that very specifically is old man thinking was identified with in mind to suggest an illusion of separation or conflict. So what I would do is put off that former conversation. And the way I would put off that former conversation was, in the moment, acknowledge the fact that I exist is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. So in that moment, I wasn't applying autosuggestion like I learned in Think and Grow Rich. I would automatically acknowledge that the fact that I exist is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And what I would notice is that illusion of separation would disappear. People would appear to transform, the environments would appear to transform, and mind would be purified in that regard by the simple acknowledgement of the fact that I exist is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment in the moment. Now, as I had mentioned, this had happened to me on the journey. So in the earlier stages, it was very hard for me to, let's say, do this or not do this. That's why I call it techniquelessness, because I don't think that I'm doing anything in that moment. It doesn't appear that I'm doing anything in the moment. I simply, we could say, and that's not even a conscious act, I simply accept myself the way I am. I simply accept people the way they are as love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And then it plays out. So in business, for example, in what would once be considered difficult conversations, the conversations transform. So let's say you have a conversation with someone and there appears to be some seeming challenge or a seeming problem. I don't see it that way. I only see opportunity. I only see delight is another way of saying it. And because mind had been purified through autosuggestion throughout the years, it became very easy to not distort reality via the limiting beliefs. So that's why it appears now as what I call techniquelessness. And this is what I mean by manifesting what your heart desires by not doing anything, by doing nothing. So literally in the moment, I don't consciously do anything, or I don't consciously try to do nothing. It happens. By getting to the point where I can authentically be as I am, it appears as flow. That's the way I describe it. Everything appears to flow more so each day with increasing frequency on a continuous basis as far as the senses perceive to be in harmony with me. Now, in regards to symbols of love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, they appear. They appear as entrepreneurial successes. They appear as ideal harmonious relationships, wonderful life experiences, and the ability for me to simply put, be myself anywhere that I appear. So I authentically feel comfortable around people more so than ever before. I authentically feel I can be myself and speak from my heart, and I witness people accepting me the way that I am. And some of the things that they say through this techniquelessness, we can call it, which is being as I am, is they appear to be as they are. So they feel comfortable, they feel natural. And with respect to entrepreneurship, and this happens on our Flow-Based Prosperity group coaching and mastermind service, again, I'll link in the description to it if you're interested, is everybody comes up with their own ways. Very interestingly, they come up with their own ways to grow their business. So I don't tell them what to do, although we may have exploratory conversations from building 3 successful businesses, consulting with many thousands of clients. We have exploratory conversations about possibilities. By being as I am, techniquelessness, we can say, they automatically find optimizations. Naturally, in a flow-based way, they find optimizations for the different areas of business. If you're a student of my entrepreneurial program, you know that I segment business as follows: innovation, sales, marketing, operations, finance, leadership. They automatically and naturally discover within, as they're one with the source, I am that I am. They discover within how to optimize their innovations, their sales, their marketing, their operations, their finance, their leadership in creative ways. They may even access some of the information that they studied and find a nuanced variation of how to do it in a way that is true and authentic for them. They appear to build the business themselves, and even though I've been a consultant for many years, and in the earlier stages, my consulting was more so of here's what you can do, here's what to do, you could say telling people what to do, that actually tapered away to be more of they automatically know what to do. That's because you do. Have you noticed this in your life that when mind was calm, you naturally knew what to do and you automatically did it? Or have you noticed that when mind was clear, also things happen naturally on their own without doing anything? So all of that is a result of having purified the mind to the point where I experience what I call, again, techniquelessness. Now, again, we discussed this in that particular conversation that I had with Cynthia. I'll link in the description to it. And I'm interested in further exploring this in upcoming videos. If you're interested in this, you can leave a comment below and let me know that you're interested in discussing this more, and I could talk about it more so. And so again, this is a nuanced point that is worth understanding through experience to really integrate physically, emotionally, mentally the spiritual truth that God does everything essentially for you. This, in the earlier stages, would have been very challenging for me to accept. I mean, in the beginning, he said, if you believe that money is a result of hard work alone, which is, let's say, a lot easier for me to accept that suggestion, although it was challenging in the earlier stages, than, let's say, if someone had told me, you don't need to do anything. to manifest what your heart desires. If I heard that, I would have thought it was nonsense. And it could appear that way on the surface. Yet, consider this. This was very helpful for me. When I realized how many things I was doing unnecessarily, that was a result of the seeking-based behaviors, seeking for love, seeking for happiness, seeking for peace, seeking for bliss, seeking for fulfillment externally, rather than accepting that I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. When I realized how much of those behaviors were generated unnecessarily, it makes a lot of sense that if we seek ye first and find the kingdom within, that you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, all these things are added onto you. So the nuance point of you don't need to do anything to manifest everything that your heart desires, or you can do nothing and manifest everything that your heart desires, is reconciled in what I call techniquelessness, which is essentially you being as you are, or we could say being, just being, which again, in the earlier stages didn't make any sense to me. And that's fine. No shame, no condemnation. Through the principle of autosuggestion, what happened was mind became purified to the point where it was easy for me to apply this. So I value the journey and the destination. I'm glad, let's say, I didn't force myself to grasp this techniquelessness and say that I'm doing something wrong if I don't do techniquelessness, which is essentially doing nothing. That wouldn't have made any sense to me. That would have been very confusing in mind. Yet now it's very crystal clear. So that is why I enjoy the journey and the destination, and I see them as one. Wherever you are right now is perfect. You can right now, to practice this, to get to a point of techniquelessness, let's say, if that is what you desire, you can practice right now to accept yourself unconditionally with respect to anything that appears. So, for example, in relationships, if someone says something to you that seems to suggest that you're not a good person or that you're not loved, consider that you can only imagine what that means to you. So in other words, we can say they're not suggesting anything. You are the suggester in mind as to what that means to you. I suggest unconditional love. In other words, no matter what they say, I love myself the way I am. If they say A and it seems to be a confirmation of love, great. If they say B and it seems to be a confirmation of not love, that's an illusion. I accept myself the way that I am. I love myself unconditionally. Through the repetition of doing that again and again and again, you may turn these into auto-suggestions. At the end of our videos, I always like to share auto-suggestions. You may turn these into auto-suggestions to acknowledge the being you are. As mentioned, auto-suggestions are ways of acknowledging that you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Mark 11:24, pray as though you have received what you desire, and it will be yours, because that's how it works. And also, autosuggestions are ways of purifying the subconscious mind from illusion of separation-based beliefs. So what happens then is those illusions in mind are dissolved and reality is experienced to be in harmony with you. Practically speaking, you appear to flow, you appear to be as you are, you don't appear to do anything, yet things happen to be in your favor, or so it appears that way. Or you may do nothing, and then unexpectedly, things appear to be in your favor. So practically speaking, when it comes to dating and relationships, we had a conversation about this the other day. I'll link in the description to the video, where I had one of my friends say to me, why is it that you go up to people and start conversations with them? You should not do that, and they should be coming to you. And I said, why do you think that one way is better than another? So he had a bias then. He wasn't allowing himself to start a conversation with someone because he would rather let people approach him and talk to him and meet people, which is totally fine. But at times we found he was forcing himself to not talk to the person. In other words, he was generating illusions of control or illusions of force, which again, that was identification to a particular belief in mind that was generating those illusions of control, illusions of force, because he had that bias of one way being better than another. So then when we release that bias in his mind, what happened was sometimes when he sees someone that he was genuinely interested in talking to, he would walk over to them and start a conversation. And at times, people would come up to him and start conversations with him. And that has been my experience as well. Because at one point I thought this way was better or that way is better. I released the bias by accepting myself as I am. Love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Accept yourself in the moment. Release the conditions of one way being better than another. Accept yourself that you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment in the moment for no reason at all. The fact that you exist is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And as that bias is released, then things happen naturally. So at times, it appears that I do something, yet it's not force-based, not stress-based. It's joyous, it's fun. And at times, I don't appear to do anything, and things appear to come to me. Now, in the entrepreneurial space, this is very powerful, because what this plays out as is a person knows what to do, not do, and they don't do the unnecessary steps. Opportunities flow their way, and then when they take the steps, they are detached from the outcome. If, let's say, it's a sales call, if the prospect says, let's go ahead with the deal, great. If the prospect says, I'm not interested in the deal, great. They're not attached to outcome. They're not suggesting that the outcome, let's say, if it appears that the person is not interested in doing the deal, means that they are not love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, because they realize that's an illusion to suggest that they are not love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And then what ends up happening at times, not to throw the bias in there, is this person ends up coming back and choosing to do the deal with them. Or they end up getting the deal. So if it goes here, the conversation flows in the direction where they sign up for the service, great. If they don't sign up for the service, great. They may come back later on and sign up for the service. Or they may get an insight to reach out to the person and send an email, and now the person's interested, they want to do the deal. Or this person goes and refers someone to them, and they get the deal. Or that person, let's say, by not becoming a client, there's some space on their calendar, and they get this other business deal now, which is even more profitable, that fills up that space in their calendar. So this is practically how it can play out from personal experience, because I've seen these scenarios play out in my business and also working with thousands of clients in the entrepreneurial space since 2013 when I got into consulting. Now, it plays out this way naturally. So in other words, we can go back to the beginning and say, there's no concern, there's no worry about doing or not doing. There's no this way is better than another. There is no I need to force myself to do nothing. There's no I need to do nothing. There's no I need to do something. There's no I need to force myself to do something. Everything happens naturally by accepting yourself the way you are. Unconditional self-acceptance. Everything flows. God does everything. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. You could say, by being as I am, as love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, everything appears to be as symbols of love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, as outer symbols of life, from my authentic way of being, as love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. This appears more so with increasing frequency on a continuous basis as far as the senses perceive, as I acknowledge that I am in harmony with all, that all is in harmony with me, that there's only God in the reality of God.